if you want to join us live. 35192. If you want to text, I got a big, long call. I'll play it for you later on. A call over the weekend on the After Hours line from Political Joe.
Oh.
And boy, it is
just
it
one
is
call?
1 5-minute call.
Nice.
And it is a roller coaster of emotion.
I hate you, but I love you, and you're not political enough for me. But you know what, Alan?
Yeah, that's how he starts them all off now.
Uh-huh.
That's right. That's like his little, that's his little signature. A little preamble.
Hey, fat face.
Yeah. Hey, fat face.
Hey, Alan.
Yep, that's how they all start.
Alan, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
When you-
Alan.
The one you use in the promo where he goes, think about it, Alan.
Yeah, why not?
My
I
sister used to
appreciate
make fun
that
of
he's a
me.
fan. What?
Every time I would get drunk and I'd bicker with my dad, the way that I would say dad when I was drunk, my sister and I still do that because I would be like, oh, what do you know about a dad? Like all pissy, and we'll still do that to each other every now and then. So that's what that reminds me of.
Oh, boy.
Dad.
Yeah. So I'll play that for you later on. We are just here today and tomorrow. Mary's live in Nashville. I'll have Static
is.
X tickets for you today and tomorrow. Also, a last pair of tickets for WWE Live, which is in that kind of fallow week between Christmas and New Year's. I think it's the 28th. And then if you want to see the Cleveland Orchestra accompany Jurassic Park, that's not till next July.
That sounds fun.
But they're getting going on the 2023 Blossom Music Festival because the tickets for the whole season are available. They're going to do Jurassic Park next summer, do Lord of the Rings, and more.
I love going to those. I've been to Batman and Empire Strikes Back. It's very fun to watch the movie along with the orchestra.
I've never been. I'll have to go to one of those.
Jurassic Park would be a good one.
I guess
That's
so.
a great score. More John Williams, right?
Yeah. I got a bunch of tweets and messages from people seemingly at the same time over this weekend who were all making the same joke. Manure Lagoon is playing at the Agora this weekend. And they all attached the story of a guy in Indiana who died after falling into a manure lagoon, which is a great name. Again, I'll put it out there for you kids that are just now feeling comfortable with your instrument. Maybe you're practicing in the garage and you need a name. You go, we got our licks, we got our riffs, we got our look. We just don't have a name, and a name is really what can put you over the top. So Manure Lagoon is out there. And I imagine that it's probably very literal. There's probably no, that's not slang for something, right? A 30-year-old guy was working a dairy farm in Indiana, and he was chasing after a piece of equipment he was using, rolled into the manure lagoon, and became submerged. And he jumped in after it. I mean, it's probably a very expensive piece of farming equipment. You know, you have people who die reflexively jumping after their phone when it falls into a river or something, and then they're taken out by the current, and the cops showed up shortly after 8:30 a.m. Other farm workers had called, and they were going to pump the manure lagoon to try to find the guy, but they said, well, that would have taken a long time. That would have taken days. Just for context, that's how big a manure lagoon is. If you want to empty it out, it's going to take days.
Stinky.
Instead, what they did was they sailed through the pond on a boat with a hook.
Now it's a Primus album.
That's right. Sailing the seas of manure.
Of things that used to be cheese.
And they finally located him 4 hours after he had fallen into the lagoon. His official cause of death was blood loss. So,
Must have cut himself?
yeah, he must have cut himself or something and then fallen in, or, you know. So, boy, but think about that. A waste management basin where all the animal waste goes, where all the wash water goes from these livestock pens, right? And this is a big environmental complaint. People who live around these things, you know, companies and like factory farms and things like that, even smaller farms, they couldn't give a fat frog's ass where that stuff goes. And so you have people who live like downriver from one of these massive farms who get like wastewater and, poo water coming into their town, and they get all mad. And it's got to make you feel weird if you also work at that farm. A lot of these towns, that's your primary employer. It's the factory farm. But then you live downriver from, what was that? There was a town in Virginia or something about a year or so ago, and they're not the only one, but they made a lot of news because they were downstream from like a pig farm or something. And this farm's just dumping the crap in the water. Whatever the pig waste is was just getting thrown into the water. They're like, well, somebody will figure it out. But the people in this town were very, very upset. And now here's a guy who finds himself in a manure lagoon. That's no good. Of all the lagoons in which you'd want to drown, I bet Manure is at the very bottom. Hummus Lagoon would be preferable.
I would eat my way out of that.
Yeah.
I like hummus.
You couldn't. It's too thick.
You don't
It'd
know
get
what
up
I
your
can
nose.
do. Stop. See, you don't believe in me.
You can't snort hummus.
I'm not snorting it.
It would get into your
I'll have
orifices.
pita paddles, and I will get out.
Put them on your arms like floaties.
Mhm.
When did you get so concerned about his orifices?
No, I'm saying that if you're overcome by a lagoon of a substance,
Yeah.
you're not. His head's not above, not water, but the surface.
The hummus, but I'll
The
I'll
hummus.
chop my
It'll
way
be,
out.
up
yeah.
your nose and
Mhm.
in your ears and stuff.
I mean, I thought lagoons were relatively shallow, by the way. I didn't think
I don't
that
know the depth.
maybe when
Yeah.
they occur naturally, they are. Maybe if it's farm waste, they make it as
It's a
deep
little
as they
deeper,
possibly
but also,
can.
It's probably pretty muckety, so it might pull you in. It might be almost like a quicksand situation.
Oh, okay. There's a vortex in there. That's
that's
okay.
just kind of like, you get trapped in it, and it creates that vacuum as you trudge through it.
Oh no.
Most
getting-
lagoons
Yeah.
are less than 65 feet. But
Deep?
they can be as deep. Yes, they can be as deep as 200 feet.
Okay, so you can have some deep ass lagoons.
Yeah. But they are
That's kind of
usually
weird, though,
around
because at what
65
point do you
feet.
call it something else? They go, well, it can be 65 feet, it can be 200. Yeah, anything can be 65 feet or 200 feet deep. I don't know about this.
I mean, what actually makes it a lagoon?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Is that like a?
Oh, what constitutes?
Well,
lagoon?
it's
Yeah,
like
tell us.
separate.
us.
It's
I
like,
got it.
isn't it separate from like a lake, like a body of water that's off of another big body of water?
Yes,
Am I right?
separated
Yeah.
by a natural barrier.
Oh, like a reef?
So it has to be separated by some sort of land or reef. This
Well,
one's
anyway.
cows.
What we're talking about are when they're naturally occurring. This guy,
Yeah.
there are no naturally occurring manure lagoons.
No, they made this.
Yeah.
They made a trench that got out of hand.
Right.
This is an S word for poop pit. That's not a lagoon.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep. It's right next to Excrement Bay.
Yeah.
And you want to be careful when you're out there.
I
The-
had a poop lagoon happen to me today.
You did? There in Nashville?
Yeah.
A
You-
poop
you eat
lagoon?
cheese or something?
No, it just my life is a poop lagoon. It's how I feel every time I travel. My check engine light came on in my car,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to take it. I took it into AutoZone, and they were like, they did the little stupid scanny thing, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't know what this means." And I was like, "What does it say?" And they're like, "We've never seen this code before, so we don't know what's wrong with your car." So there was like a Firestone 2 doors down, and I took it to them, and they're like, "Yeah, we've never seen this code before either, so we don't know what's wrong with your car." And I was like, "Well, can I drive it?" And I was in Jackson, Tennessee when this happened, and they were like, maybe. It could break down, though. And I was like, "Can I get to Nashville?
It could
Can
break
I,
down.
like,
I mean, if
Can
they don't
I
know what it
drive?
is, that's all they can tell you.
Yeah.
They go, we've
Well,
never
that's
seen this
exactly what it
before.
was.
And they don't have, you can't even like Google the code?
the code, they put it into their car systems.
Yeah.
Their systems that are made for mechanics. And they're like, I've never seen this come up before. Some type of a solenoid problem.
Probably a
And so
glitch
I-
or something. It's probably not even like your engine. It's probably just like the sensor is messed up.
No, I took it into the Kia dealership this morning at 8 o'clock this morning, and an engine.
Well, a solenoid's
ignition
in your
coil.
in your transmission. That ain't good if something like that is the problem.
Well, they said it's my ignition coil. I need a new ignition coil and 3 new spark plugs.
Yeah.
And it cost me almost $1,000 to get that done today.
Yeah. And the parts aren't that expensive.
No.
It's the labor.
The parts are like $10.
Yeah.
It's the labor, and it's the fact that it was a $225 diagnostic test. The same test that they ran at, like, the AutoZone, they ran at the Kia dealership, and they're like, yeah, it's $225. I was like, well, they did it for free there.
Well,
It's like, yeah,
that's-
they also
that's
told
why-
you they didn't
Yeah,
know
but
what
they
was
didn't know
wrong
what
with
was
it.
going on. Yeah.
That's why I bought my
Yeah.
own code reader. And they don't
Well,
like
then
that
once you-
because then you walk in and you tell them
You
what
know
the
what you're
code
supposed-
is. Yeah, they don't get to charge you $225.
I'll tell you what, Mary. I was going to give you some money for your birthday, so you can either get it now or you could get it on your birthday. Which day do you
My
want
birthday's Friday, so send it now. dude.
Poundcake was
so-
going to give you money for your birthday?
I give people
I'll
money
take
for
it.
their birthday. I act like I'm.
But you're trying to win $200 from her.
It's not going to be $200.
It's a
But-
deposit.
Will you give her $20?
I'll give her 50. How about that?
That's
Hey,
nice.
that
I
helps.
just,
Thank
you
you.
were the last person I would have thought. It's no knock. You're just the
Seems
last
like
person I
you're
would.
knocking.
No. Of all the things you talk about, I don't have money for this. I don't got money for that.
I don't.
I'm eating a big slab of turkey for the week. I'm
But
I
that's
didn't
not
think
crazy.
I didn't think you'd be slipping a 50 in her card.
I will splurge. I will go above and beyond for people that I care about. Like, I'm not going to.
Oh, look at you.
Never got us $50.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
She ain't getting no $50 from me.
I have too.
Alan, you're right. Don't give me $50. Give me $750 because you're a millionaire and you should pay for my car to get fixed.
Yeah. I'll wait till you hear
Yeah.
political Joe going off on that. Yeah, $1 million. I got to stop this steady stream of misinformation about me being a millionaire because it's really catching on with the hoi polloi.
Yeah. So
$50.
that was
Wow.
that's my poop lagoon story for today where I'm like, I just can't even, I can't make any money on the road because you know what my check for this week was? $900.
Yeah.
So I'm like, every dollar that I made and then some went directly into my car so that I could get home. And it's so funny because I posted it on my Instagram story when they sent me the text message and everyone's like, oh, just buy the spark plugs and do it yourself. I'm like, I am 600 miles from home. I don't think today's the
That's
day to
not
be
the
a
hard
YouTube
part,
mechanic.
though. Spark plugs are a piece of cake.
Yeah.
It's like an
Instead of,
ignition coil.
ignition
That's
coil.
Yeah, that's a whole other
That's
thing.
a whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not
Which
doing that.
is something that people will be like, oh, you could do it. You could do it, but not when you're 600 miles from home.
Not in Jackson, Tennessee. Do you want to do that and then find out you did something wrong and then your car is stuck there? Yeah,
And
that's
then
not
it's Thanksgiving, so nothing's open till Monday.
right.
Everyone's like, yeah. I called my buddy who's actually he works at Terry's North Coast Auto. I called him and I was like, hey, is this real? Like, here's what they told me. Should I get this done? He goes, yeah, unfortunately, you do have to get this done. Because he's like, it's exactly what they said. With these types of things, you could crap out 20 miles from now or it could last you a month, but you literally never know. And it's only going to make your engine worse. So I was like, perfect. Perfect.
Well, there you go. Congratulations.
No. Drowning in a poop lagoon.
Every one of these trips.
Everyone.
I told
It's
you,
like-
these cannot be worth it for you.
Well, if everything would have gone right, I'd have come home with $1,000 in my
Well,
pocket.
yes, if everything would have gone right, everything is great. You know what? If everything had gone right, I would have won the Powerball.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's fun.
Hey, Jake.
Hey, so speaking of Poop Lagoon, I just saw Streetlight Manifesto at the Cleveland Agora yesterday, and they opened. Pretty good set. But speaking of falling into gross, disgusting things, true story, I heard, I don't know where I heard it, Ripley's Believe It or Not or something, like in colonial Boston, a molasses tank broke open and like actually drowned and killed a bunch of people in colonial Boston.
Yeah, sure.
True story. Like it's like 15 or 20 people. You may have heard of it, but when I heard of like the drowning in hummus, it reminded me of it.
Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar, like something I might have seen in the Great Molasses Flood is what you're talking about.
Slowest death ever.
Yeah, the Boston molasses disaster. They're like, oh no, how am I going to get out of this? 21 people killed by a tidal wave of syrup in Boston in 1919. Wow. How about that? 2 million gallons of molasses.
Your ass is molasses.
Yeah. Several buildings were flattened in the disaster, which killed 21 people and injured 150 others.
That's so much molasses.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The goggles, they do nothing.
They do nothing. That's real acid and action. It was an uncharacteristically warm winter day in Boston. It was 40-plus degrees, and that means a lot of people were walking around downtown. But then the molasses disaster struck. And
Do you think they just didn't have enough urgency? They're like, oh, that molasses is moving pretty slow.
we
I think
got
we'll
plenty
have
of time.
Plenty of time to get to safety. And then all of a sudden, they're dead.
But maybe it was warm molasses.
Oh,
That
it's
would
moving
be
fast,
less
yeah.
viscous, right? The Great Molasses Flood. They said that the wave of molasses,
It can't be a wave.
a storage tank filled with 2.3 million gallons of molasses,
That's so much molasses.
burst, and the wave rushed through the streets at 35 miles per hour. That's not
Wow.
slow.
That is not slow.
Killing 21 and injuring 150. The area smelled of molasses on hot summer days for decades after. Well, yeah, you can't get every nook. You ever see the layout of Boston? Holy Christ. You could barely drive around that town, let alone get all the nooks and crannies where the molasses settled. You got to get out there with a toothbrush. I do like the headline in the Boston Post. Huge molasses tank explodes in North End. 11 dead, 50 hurt. That would be the top story. Right there above the fold. A molasses disaster.
What killed Jack? Oh, molasses. Oh, he was diabetic? No, like the actual.
No,
not
the
just
wave.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Right, the wave.
The
of
molasses tsunami, duh.
Now, as a kid who grew up on molasses instead of syrup, I feel for these people. I hated even eating molasses, let alone shuffling off my mortal coil at its hand. Oh, waist-deep molasses is how the Boston Post described it. Swirled and bubbled. Whether it was animal or human being that was ensnared was impossible to tell. I love writing in old-time newspaper writing.
Ensnared.
Human beings were ensnared. Now they're like, yeah, guy got shot in the face. Pictures at 11. Horses died like so many flies on flypaper. Anywho, for our bureau chiefs in Boston and in Massachusetts, maybe a lot of those people probably had people who are living today lost a grandparent or a great-grandparent in the Great Molasses Flood. There's no way to go. 35-mile-per-hour wave of molasses. I got a break. I'll have, and I go see the Cleveland Orchestra accompany Jurassic Park next summer. You're going to get these in plenty of time. But the tickets for that whole 2023 season with the Cleveland Orchestra out at Blossom are on sale now. So I'll hook you up to see Jurassic Park accompanied by the Cleveland Orchestra. After the break, 35192 if you want to text, and we'll be back.
It's the Alan Cox Show.
On our free iHeartRadio app and your favorite smart device. Just tell it to play the Alan Cox Show.